Okay, ready? All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the October 14th Planning Commission meeting. At this time, I'd like, Amber, can you do a roll call, please?
Wendy Birmingham.
Here.
Robin Bridges.
Here.
Phil Chancellor.
Here.
Jana Jager. Here. Mac Lazenby.
Here.
Marcus Marshall.
Here.
Warren McCord.
Here.
Nanette Reese.
Here.
Bob Reichenbaugh.
Here. Okay, before we get started, especially since there's such a large group here tonight, I'd like to just kind of go over the basic process that we're going to follow tonight. The commission will be presented with an agenda item by the planning staff, and then after they present that, a representative will have an opportunity to make any kind of comments they might want to make, a representative of the project that's at hand. And then after that, I'll open a public hearing if it's appropriate. So some of these items require public hearings, some do not. That'll be your time to address the item at hand. We ask that you keep your time to 5 minutes when you come up to speak, and please keep your comments relevant to the case at hand. After everyone's spoken, I will close the public hearing, and the resident and the representative, if available, and the staff will have an opportunity to answer the questions and respond to the issues that were brought up during the hearing. After that, we'll have open it up the floor for the commissioners to vote, provide a motion, and then we'll have a little discussion if necessary, and we'll have the vote. The commission's going to vote based on the state and local laws, the city's comprehensive Plan 2030, and the general good of the community. Additionally, we do have an additional role that's where we make final decisions, and that has to do with subdivision plats. Okay, so we have a number of those in our agenda tonight. And by Alabama statute, a municipal planning commission such as ours is the final approval authority for subdivision plats. And with regard to those plats, the commission acts as an administrative body and is bound by limitations that are contained in state laws, the city's zoning ordinance, and the subdivision regulations that have been adopted by this commission in the past. While public hearings are required on most plats, we welcome any and all comments at that time. Please understand that the commission's authority is strictly limited to confirming that the plat meets or exceeds specific requirements that are codified in laws and regulations. Again, I ask that if you intend to speak at any time, this is the clipboard over here that can sign up right here in the front. As you come up to the podium, please sign in and give us your name and your address. Finally, I'd like to make the point that the Planning Commission, other than the subdivision plats, the Planning Commission is only an advisory body for the City Council. So whatever motion we make at this time at this meeting will be further voted on by the City Council, and there's another time to discuss that if you would like to. We're going to change a little bit of our procedure for some added clarity for the beginning. We're going to have citizens communications now, and that's a time where anybody that's interested in speaking about, there's two different categories. One is there's something that's not on this agenda at all. If you're interested in speaking about some item like that, come on up. The other one is if you are interested in speaking on any of the consent agenda items. And so what I'd like to do here real quick is just list off the consent agenda items first, give you an idea of what those are about, and then I'll open it for citizens communication. So consent agenda will have the meeting minutes for the packet meeting of 6 September and the regular meeting of 9 September. There's the Segrist annexation, PL 2021-00571. There's the Pearson annexation, which is PL 2021-00627. There's the Sutherland annexation, which is the PL 2021-00637. Auburn Farms Phase 1 Final Plat is the 8th item, and that's PL 2021-00649. Number 9 is Somerville Subdivision Plat, Somerville Subdivision, which is PL 2021-00652. And finally, the last item on the consent agenda is Tuscany Hills Section 5A, PL 2021-00656. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor to anybody that would like to come up for citizens communication. You can sign in after you speak. Either, yeah, just go ahead and come on up.
Yeah, more efficient. My name is Betsy Wendell. I live at 1765 Creekwood Trail in North Auburn, and I'm here to speak about the Pearson annexation. Our concerns in our neighborhood are that, I don't know if you're familiar, but the Creekwood development is between Ashton Park and Gardner Stables, and we access an egress by Shelton Mill Road.
Do we have a plat or a map that we can look at real quick? Should be on the packet.
First of all,
There, okay, there you go.
if the property is annexed, it goes against Ms. Pearson's wishes based on hearsay. Sheila Ekman rents the little house on the Noble Hall property that we all see when we drive down Shelton Mill Road. She told us at a neighborhood meeting that she talked to Ms. Pearson the night before Ms. Pearson died, and Ms. Pearson was planning to call her attorney the next day and have this particular tract put in some kind of land trust or something. But that, that's hearsay on my part. Our concern is safety on Shelton Mill Road. As you know, right now, Shelton Mill Road is heavily traveled, especially in the morning during going to work time and school time, and in the evenings returning home time. There is a blind hill on Shelton Mill Road. Already, it can hardly handle the traffic that uses it. But if Academy Drive, as is planned, connects with Shelton Mill Road, then where it's connecting is right there at that blind hill where Bridlewood comes out onto Shelton Mill Road. It's very dangerous. Our neighbors have learned to be careful, but we are an 11-home neighborhood. If we have say this property is rural, which it's right now would be, I don't know how many homes that might be, but it's a lot of people. And if, heaven forbid, it ever is zoned to development district housing, which is 4 houses per acre, if I'm not mistaken, that's a lot more traffic. Besides the traffic that's cutting through from Shelton Mill to go to Lee Scott or Professional Parkway or those doctors' offices. So, speaking for the neighbors, our biggest problem is a safety issue right there on Shelton Mill Road with the additional housing and the additional traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Hello, I'm Dale Watson. I live at 775 Bridlewood Drive, also part of Creekwood Subdivision. And we, as Betsy said, access on Bridlewood, which is a part of private property. We have no public access to our neighborhood. So it's too bad you and your professional services weren't in place when our subdivision was put together, because we're still dealing with those issues. I have a couple of questions about, is this the e-packet? Is that the 6 pages with the?
Yeah, that'll give you the information that the staff put together to talk about this item.
Okay. So under the planning portion, paragraph D, it says future land use classification and possible appropriate zoning designations. future land use map in comprehensive plan 2030 designates the property as low-density residential. The most appropriate zoning for the property would be development district housing, DDH. So my question is, all of that is either county or it's rural zoning surrounding that property, except for due south, that one subdivision that's due south. So how is it, I understand the future plan was a separate issue for a previous day. So it's curious that with everything else being either county or rural, how DDH was suggested for this in the future plan. But how is it that that's, quote, the most appropriate for this property, given that there's about 300 acres that surround it that's either county or rural?
Okay. Can you just scroll over on the screen so I can see the map a little bit? Got it covered up there with the clock. Okay, thanks.
So the only thing that's city and is residential is that neighborhood just right there.
Right. And that's what's allowing it to be brought forward to annex
Right.
because it's contiguous with.
But how is it that that piece of property, quote, the most appropriate zoning is DDH when it's surrounded by nothing?
Well, what you're speaking of is a future land use plan, and so it's a
Right.
plan for the future at this point in time. And so that's kind of where that plan stands until, it gets changed if it needs to be changed, or
Okay.
we do something different in the future.
Okay, well, it
It's
says
just its
possible,
current state right now.
possible appropriate zoning designation for this property after coming into the city, I guess, right?
Right.
So this suggests that the appropriate zoning that would be recommended would be DDH.
At this point in time. So
at this point in
on
time,
the
it
land
doesn't
use
make
plan,
sense.
The land use map, is that all, this whole area is low-density residential, right?
That's correct.
It's rural or
Yeah, well, right
county.
now, if it's not annexed, which most of this is in the county, not annexed, it's, that's kind of off the table. Once we bring it in and we annex it as a rural property, then there are changes that are made. The way we're looking at it in the future, because the comprehensive plan and the land use plan that goes along with that, is that this whole area would be low-density residential in the future. All the land around it that's not even in the city yet, over time will be annexed in, and right now, the idea is to make it low-density residential.
Well, maybe not.
Well, that's the point in time, right?
Yeah, over on the page 5 of 6, the engineering services, it talks, there's a paragraph B, trips generation analysis. So I
Traffic study.
gather that has to do with traffic.
Yes, sir.
I don't know all the
They have a traffic
terminology.
study on all major.
Yeah.
I-
So it says the property is approximately 44.37 acres, currently undeveloped, based on rural zoning designation, around 14 single-family homes. Detached dwellings would be allowed and would generate approximately 140 trips per day. Okay? So how is the trips generation analysis limited to only the potential new houses in that tract?
That's the only information they have. They don't know any of the other development at this point in time.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that down below, it says, in addition to Academy Drive being extended, that Bedrock Drive should be extended to meet Academy. So that means that not only the cobblestone subdivision that's to the south would also come up and cut across to Shelton Mill. The big apartment complex, 1322 North Apartments, that's on North Dean, they would come up there and access 280 through Academy Drive and Shelton Mill. And then over on Gatewood, you have Village at Lakeside, which is a huge apartment complex. They would also drive up, come down Academy through that new neighborhood and access Shelton Mill. You have all those medical service offices that are on Professional Drive. People coming from all points north would access those offices via this neighborhood. And at that intersection, you have attached homes that are southwest of Lee Scott Academy that would also access Shelton Mill and 280 through Academy
So your
Drive.
concern basically is traffic pattern.
There's an Oak Park nursing home in addition to all of those, and that's not to mention the school traffic. All points north, with parents and kids attending Lee Scott, are going to be coming through that intersection. So how do we do a traffic analysis or a trips generation analysis that calls for 140 trips a day? I can tell you it's going to be 100 times that per day.
But based on what they're requesting tonight is to be annexed in general. Once annexed, it comes in as rural, period. That's what they're
Yes.
requesting tonight.
And
that's
this
all we're voting
annexation,
on.
okay.
And
Truly.
that's all that's
But it
before
says
us at this
that
point.
the road would be included when it's developed.
When it's developed, that's going to require another hearing here. They're going to have,
Sure.
they're going to decide how are they going to plat the place, where the road's going to come
Okay.
in. There's a lot of other follow-on that has to do. The fact of the matter, it's going to be some sort of residential. What is it going to look
Okay.
like?
Well, maybe that speaks to the engineering folks or the traffic folks, because Shelton Mill is not in a good condition to
Amen.
handle its existing traffic.
They're all over that. That's part of the engineering
When you add
analysis.
10 times 140 or 100 times 140, it's
Okay.
not, that would require a 4-lane road. At that
Mr. Watson,
intersection.
we feel like that if it is annexed, that the city has more control over the issues you've got concerned about. We just can't address them till we get to that point. And we know we would have no control if it remained in the county. So we're trying to get it where we can more appropriately have it designed and engineered to address the concerns you've got if it's in the city. And for it to be in the city, we've got to consider the annexation.
Okay, thank you. Apologize, I went over time.
Oh.
Thank you for your service. I know you
Points well taken.
oftentimes don't get the respect you deserve up here.
Points well taken.
No problem. Go speak? Okay.
Sorry,
Walk
this is
around.
after the J&J vaccine, so you'll have to
Oh.
bear with me. My name is Cynthia Atkinson. My address is 1817 Bluestone Court. However, I am a 4th generation from Lee County, and my mother and our family farm resides at the top of the next hill, so we concur 100% with them. We were there, we knew Dr. Pearson, we know the gardeners, and at the top of the hill, Lee Road 97, 2303, Shelton Mill Road is where my mother's farm is, 50-acre farm, right there adjoining Shelton Cove. That was part of our land, and my sister sold that when my father passed. So it is our plan, as you all know, that in the state of Alabama, by the way, I'm a real estate broker as well, 34 years, you cannot annex us in with, you cannot take it without annex us in. So we, having been there over 50 years, 60 years, plan to keep this in our family, okay? And I can just tell you this much, if you lived on that farm trying to get out of that, my mother, 82-year-old mother lives there, we live there, trying to get out of that, out of her 2 driveways is like a nightmare. And when we put that much more traffic, like they're talking about, you're just talking about a disaster. And I know even 3 or 4 years ago, I spoke with an authority, and they want to bring Dean Road down through that. And so, into, down through to meet, I believe, to 280 or onto Shelton Road. So I agree, and we concur 100% with our neighbors that we do not agree with having more traffic coming that direction. It's just as he mentioned. For so many other reasons, all the traffic's going to drive there. It's a nightmare as it is. So we just wanted to voice our opinion or express our concerns and ask y'all to really rethink this because we did know Ann personally, Mrs. Pearson. And I used to ride my bike from our farm to the university and back, and I stopped and saw Dr. Pearson every day. And that was her desire, was to preserve that land. In fact, I even tried to buy it from her years ago, but she wanted to keep it. and preserve that land. I understand that much of it's been given to the university, which I suppose perhaps that's what's happened, is the university sold it to perhaps the developers. I'm not sure at this point. I haven't looked into that. But anyway, we just want you to know that, we are definitely planning to keep our farm for the next, hopefully, 100 years, 50 to 100 years. I plan to keep it and pass it down. And it's just it's a dangerous road as it is. And to come out and bring that kind of traffic onto that road, and they're trying to get out of theirs, it is a nightmare. So we would ask that y'all would reconsider that. And we thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the citizens' communication, and we will move into old business. The first item of business is the Keel annexation, PL 2021-00367. Ms. Robinson.
Yes, good evening. The request before you this evening is an annexation request for approximately 42 acres. You may recall this was postponed from last month's meeting after learning of the council's approval, amendment to, and approval of Highway 280 focus area study. Their approval, changed to rural, future land use, as opposed to the LLRD. They are still requesting LLRD, and Jay will go over that momentarily. But the annexation is approximately 42 acres, surrounded on 3 sides by the city limits, which is zone rural. The lots along the front of the property, fronting Heath Road, are approximately 1 acre. And did receive one correspondence today from a citizen in the neighborhood saying that she did not oppose the annexation. And that's all of the communication that we have heard.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this does not require a public hearing, so I'd ask for a motion and then follow-on discussion if we need to.
I'll move to approve case PL 2021-00367.
Second.
In a second, is there any discussion on this? We have a motion in a second. Let's have a roll call, please.
Bridges,
Yes.
Chancellor,
Yes?
Jaeger,
Yes.
Lazenby,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
McCord, Reese,
Yes.
Reitenbaugh,
Yes.
Birmingham.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 2, which is the Keel rezoning, same property. We're just talking about rezoning now that it's been annexed as rural. This is PL 2021-00365. Mr. Howell.
Sorry, I'm short.
Good luck, Katie. All right, next case is the rezoning application for that same property that you just had a vote on for annexation. This is for the 41.6 acres request to rezone from rural to large lot residential district pending its annexation. Still located in the same spot it was before. Future land use map, like Katie mentioned, was originally rural. We talked through the 280 focus area study about possibly changing it. However, that was chosen not to do so by the council, and so it stayed rural. As a result of that, the staff is going to recommend denial since it does not conform with the future land use plan. The LLRD district allows for 1 acre lots, which would create a density of would create a maximum of 41 units for the subject property. Here you see an exhibit of the subject property. It's on its side, so north will be looking to your left. And an aerial, pending your questions from staff.
Okay, thank you. Any comment from the representative, if there's one here?
Representative is here.
Want to come up and say something? Come on.
Ledge Nettles Baseline Surveying. So I've worked on this property for many years, so I'm very familiar with it, and I'm helping Mr. Keel with this. So a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention and kind of a little thought-provoking to me was this was originally included with the LLRD. It was originally, staff had included it with the package. And city council excluded this one. And I believe the reasoning was for excess traffic or something. So I just wanted to, that kind of got my attention because, you know, Highway 147 is an arterial. And arterial has you know, an average daily vehicle per day of 13,300. So you're talking about adding, you know, by the time you get with the road and everything else, you're getting about 35 lots out of this. Maximum. That's if you know, it perks and everything, you know, very well. So you gotta consider, is 30 lots on that road really going to throw an arterial over the limit of 13,300? It doesn't make sense to me why that was a reason for it. If there's a better reason, I don't know. Also, we'd worked with staff on this when we had been told that it was going to be possibly an LLRD. And we had a layout done. We have a road that actually linked to the property to the back. And it would have actually given a little connectivity there to future developments and other things. Now, I want to speak on the location of where the road would be, and you can see where it is. It's not, you know, to one side or the other so that your sight distance would be a problem. And when those lots were all developed, it is, you know, you've got a pretty good distance to see both ways. But anyway, those are some of the things that I just wanted to bring up and just say that, you know, we talked to staff about it, and we were a little surprised when somebody came and spoke against it. I know it was in their original study, like I said, and to me, I think two people may have spoken against it and convinced them that that wasn't the way to go. And when these guys have studied this thing for years and they think it needs to be in it, then somebody that doesn't even live on the road says, I don't think it needs to be, and there's too many mailboxes, I tend to defer to their judgment rather than just say, well, yeah, let's just vote that way. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted y'all to think about, rethink and kind of think what their decision was and kind of why we wanted to come back and say, you know, maybe this was not the right decision, you know, and we're adding like 30 lots. Now, who knows, you know, it may not perk as well. We may get 28 lots. Who knows? But I'm just saying, just those are some of the things I want you to think about as far as we want to go back to them and ask for LLRD. I know that sounds crazy, but we want to go back with these arguments and say, hey, we got postponed several months and we dropped the ball on that. You know, we kept following up, but we just didn't follow up enough. So I don't know. Any questions you have, I'd be glad to answer them or try to answer them. I think Mr. Keel, if you got a question for him, they may want to speak in a minute too.
Okay.
So anyway,
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, well, this requires a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing at this point. So anybody that would like to come speak on this item, which is a rezoning from rural to large lot residential, please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Jimmy Dickey. I live at 4950 Heath Road. I wanted to piggyback on a couple of things Mr. Nettles said. You know, one of the arguments that was made at the council with the amendment was the thing about the mailboxes. And I mean, for this, we're not even adding mailboxes. I mean, that to the road. You know, this is back behind. This is off that road. So just to again kind of piggyback on that. So again, I live on 4950 Heath Road. We do live in a 1 acre lot. My house borders the proposed property to the west, and it is south about 3 houses of where the road is proposed to be. When the revision of the 2030 plan was sent to the city council, that amendment, again, it really, I wasn't expecting that to pop up. Again, I have no, we kind of thought it was done. My family and I and a couple of the friends that I have that live around there. And so my only connection to the Keel family really is that Mike built my house in 2014, and then they're my neighbors. So just wanted to kind of state that for the record, I suppose. I completely understand why some folks want to oppose it, but in all fairness, when we started building our house, before we even signed a contract with Mike in 2014, he was very clear about his intentions with that property behind us. We were curious because we wanted somewhere where there was some privacy and not having to worry about real dense development. Further, in my estimation of just kind of watching the development around the city in particular over the last few years, obviously it's boomed, but we've had so many of these, and they serve a purpose. I'm not necessarily trying to speak ill of those, but so many of these really high density properties that are, a quarter acre popping up kind of all over the place. And to me, this is absolutely intended to and can fill a gap in that it's either a quarter acre or it's 3+ acres, right? So some of us get priced out of those 3+ acres because of what you have to build to justify spending that much on your acreage. Again, I'm not wild. I've told Mike this, to be fair. I'm not wild. My house backs up to woods now. We love that. We can be a little bit louder than the normal people can, and it doesn't really bother anybody, okay? I'm not crazy about having a house back behind me, but I'm also, more than that, I think it's important for the city to consider the development, the direction of the developments that have been put into place. And again, this kind of fills a gap. I'm more interested in being a proponent of property owners and their rights and what they can do with their own property. Let's see, I think I hit all my points. I appreciate you listening to my rambling. I just wanted to be sure that that you guys all knew that, and thank you to you guys regarding all the work and the questions that you've answered throughout this process. But I just wanted to be sure that you all were aware, because it appeared at the council meeting that it was universally opposed and nobody wanted this. Well, that's just not true. I have no connection to these guys other than being neighbors, and they did a good job building my house. And we support them in whatever it is that they want to do with it.
So just to confirm, let me make sure that you are for that, this.
I would be, yes, sir. We
Or the
would be for
rezone.
the LLR, is it LLRD? Okay, yes, we would support that, surely.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Sign in, please. Anybody else?
I'm Holly Keel, and I live at 5050 Heath Road, and yes, I am married to Mike Keel. A few points, piggybacking off Jimmy. To me, yes, we told every person that bought a house that the future plan had been all along to develop the land and let Ray Keel, who was the wise man we all wish we had been, to purchase the large parcel. He's slowly developed it, sold some off, and this is his last piece to retire on. And he lives on the right side of the easement, and then our house is on the left side of the easement, and that was all planned years ago. So I would ask you to consider that as a man's wishes to see his very wise purchase come to a final fruition and this last piece be developed. To me, one of the most beneficial things for everyone on Heath Road is we will have somewhere to go walk. We can walk our dogs, we can ride our bike, the kids can play, we can have trick-or-treaters, go door to door. We miss out on those special things living on a state highway. And so for all the neighbors who run on Heath Road, both sides will have that availability. Right now we run up to the dirt road, which I understand was passed and will be developed, so that will all go away. So all our little nooks and crannies that we can escape that busy highway, we're going to create that space. And again, when we leave the access point for future development, then we're just going to have more of a place to enjoy. As a realtor, I can say that Auburn desperately needs to come back home to having an option of a builder who will actually listen to you and build you a custom home. We've gotten so cookie cutter and nope, this is the plan, we're not moving a wall, that it's becoming very frustrating to buyers when they're looking for that new product. To have a quality builder, it's going to be a beautiful development if y'all will allow it to become one, and I ask for your vote.
You please sign in.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Hi.
Hey.
I'm Georgia Jones, and I live at 5050 Heath Road. I think that this is going to be a great development. I'm 26, so I'm young. I am currently building a house. And it was actually really hard for me to find somewhere because, like he had said earlier, you're either in, like, the quarter acre or 3 acres, and, like, I obviously can't afford 3 acres. And so I think that this would be a great addition to the North Auburn area for people my age and younger families and starting out young adults. A lot of my friends and family live in the North Auburn area because it's developing super quickly, as y'all know. The Farmville Roundabout just opened up, and that's awesome, and 280 is finally finished. And so I think that this would be really great for us and for the younger generation of Auburn, grad students and people coming out of college to have an opportunity to find somewhere great to live. So, yeah.
Thank you. Baby.
I'm Caroline Mullenholz. I live at 1464 Mill Branch Drive, but I, for the past 7 years, have worked for Mr. Keel, so I've been out at 5050 Heath a lot in the past 7 years, and I'd like to speak on the traffic concerns. I can count on one hand in 7 years that I've had to wait to get out of his driveway for traffic on 147 North or Heath Road. The only time there has ever been a backup is when they were doing all the construction that they just finished, hallelujah, on 280. That is the only time I've ever had to wait to get onto 280. I've never had to wait to get onto Heath Road. So I was a little confused in watching the video of the prior conversation about how backed up traffic is and how this would just congest it more, because it's wonderful. I pulled it into the driveway, there's nothing coming. And again, the concern about the 30 mailboxes, I myself have gotten behind the mail person that delivers out there, and they pull over on the side of the road. You can get by them very, very easily and very, very safely. So I am in favor of this being developed into the 1 acre lots. I don't think it's going to affect traffic or the mail delivery in any aspect. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Melissa Talmadge, and I live at 2036 Bonnie Glen Road. And I also work for Mr. Keel and have been driving for a year, 8 a.m. and then back at 5 p.m. To 5050 Heath Road, and have not had any issues with traffic. I think it's a lovely place, lovely road. I appreciate the development on 280 with reference to the light and just how much work's been going on out there. Truly, that has been the only reason that there has been a little bit of traffic if I've waited. But as another young professional in Auburn area, I think that would be something I would be interested to, like a 1 acre lot as a home. I think it's a good opportunity for community, and I know that the north side of Auburn is growing rapidly as well. So a lot of great developments that direction, and definitely has my support. So thank you for your time.
You.
Hey guys, Shane Davis. I live at 4020 Highway 147. I've lived on 147 for about 15 years now. I got 3 kids that come to school in Auburn, at least got 17-year-old son that drives 147 every day. Never has a problem with traffic going or coming. I feel safe for him driving my 2 daughters to school with him. We never experience a backup, other than the construction time on 280 or, freak accident or something. But 147 is not a real congested highway, and from my understanding, it's a state route that's tying into a state route of 280. So if this gets approved, I feel like the DOT would have to do traffic studies and come up with the best way of getting in and out of this development. So I think the 2 or 3 folks that spoke against it at the last meeting was concerned with mailboxes and traffic and possibly pizza delivery and stuff like that. I also think that the lady that spoke against it has some property that's to the east of it, a bigger farm. And after watching the recording of that, she said at some point that her kids would probably seek annexation, or however you say it, for their farm. So I don't think she's really against, her family possibly annexing their farm in at some point to benefit theirself, but I do think she's against somebody else, trying to annex something in. So if she was really against it, why wouldn't she just, put her land in a land trust or something, and, to keep her kids from breaking it up into a subdivision? The 1 acre lots. When my wife and I've been in Auburn for 23 years now. But when my wife and I first bought our house in Auburn, newlyweds, young, and we bought in Wrights Mill Estates, the guy sitting back behind me back there sold us the house. And it was on a 1 acre lot, actually a 3/4 acre lot. And I was from the country, right? I didn't want to live in no subdivision. The last thing I wanted to do was move into the city. But the 3/4 acre lot, it was great. We fell in love with Auburn. We stayed here. All 3 of our kids were born in Auburn, and this is home now. Over the years, the subdivision lots have got smaller and smaller and smaller, and more houses, and it's just become crazy. And I think the 1 acre lots would be beneficial for Auburn, and for families like mine starting out that couldn't afford the 3 or 4 acre lots or the bigger farms that cost so much in Auburn. So I think, the 1 acre lots would be great, and I ask y'all to approve it. So, thank you.
Who will be next? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. Let me just ask one question of engineering. This sort of, there would be a traffic study anticipated for this. Any further development would, by the nature of it, would have one, or is that true?
I'd have to look back at the proposed lot layout to see if it meets the threshold. From what I remember, it does not meet the threshold for a traffic impact study.
So you're saying the impact is low enough to where we don't have to, that's not really an issue?
Correct.
Okay.
They would potentially have improvements on 147, and we would work with the DOT to get those done.
The other thing I'd like to mention is, we're kind of in a tricky position with this particular item. You know, the fact that we've, our comprehensive plan and land use plan have been formally changed, and, you know, that's kind of a fundamental planning document that we make our decisions based on that. And at this point in time, it's been changed from that we had a traffic study that kind of, not a traffic study, but the 280 study that we just recently completed, was adjusted, and now this particular for the land use is rural, which requires the larger lots. So, having said that, I'll open for a motion, and then we can have some discussion if we need to do that.
Mr. Chairman, we studied this at great length some months ago, and I feel, with all due respect to those who see it differently, but I do not see, and I could not hear from engineering, a justification that would limit this particular development to 3-acre lots, that the traffic impact is such minimally that I think in my logic and in my feeling at this time, it's best for the area, and for the property owner that this rezoning be considered.
Warren, I'm gonna agree with you on that. We spent a lot of time on the 280, but I know I'm agreeing with Warren. Write it down, everybody. But I'm gonna agree with his thought process on this. We spent a lot of time on the 280 focus study. Our recommendation to City Council was for the large lot residential district. I don't remember if it was created during that focus study or the focus study before, but it was created to fill that gap between DDH and rural. So I think it's most appropriate in this area where there are already several 1-acre lots. No matter how they were developed and brought into the city, that's irrelevant at this point, but those houses are out there, and it does fill a need that a lot of people are looking for, and I can support it because I supported it during the focus study. So in my mind, I would be in favor of it because I feel like that as a planning commission body, that's what we recommended during the focus study. I would make a motion to approve PL 2021-00365.
Second.
Motion in a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and have a roll call, please.
Bridges?
Yes.
Chancellor?
Yes?
Jaeger?
Yes.
Lazenby?
No.
Marshall?
Yes.
Ford?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Wrightenbaugh?
Yes.
Birmingham?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and it is approved to rezone from rural to LLRD. Okay, next item on old business is the bottle.
Mr. Chairman, over here, sorry. I didn't know if you wanted to have clarification on that. I know you said motion, or you said to approve the rezoning. Of course, it's a recommendation you're making to the city council.
Right.
So this will go to the city council, I believe, in November. Is that correct? Second meeting in November. And so just for clarification for the audience,
Right.
thank you.
Okay, so the bottle PDD, and this is PL 2021-00368. Mr. Kipp.
Good evening. This is a request from the property owner Joseph Ernest, represented by Holland Homes LLC. It is a request that was postponed from your last meeting in September. At that meeting, you had recommended to City Council approval to rezone the northern portion of the property to CDD and the southern portion of the property to DDH. Accompanying that was this PDD request, at which time staff had several conditions placed, or that we're working with the property owner and the applicant on. The applicant has substantially revised, not necessarily the master development plan, but has came back and worked with us on meeting several of those conditions. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning to PDD, or the recommendation to City Council. It does comply with the future land use plan, in that they're providing a substantial amount of commercial acreage on the northern portion, and residential on the southern portion, which does comply with the future land use study and the 280 focus area study that redesignated the property. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a representative who'd like to speak? You want to come up? Come on.
Good afternoon. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of y'all again today. Like Logan said, we're here to present the PDD to give the city more control over the property. That was always our intent. We've been working closely with staff since June to kind of develop this plan, and the last 30 days we were able to kind of iterate some more, get something that's truly a win-win. As an Auburn-based builder, we super appreciate the importance of this area of town. It's truly the northern entrance to the city. So we're excited about the opportunity to bring a quality and beautiful product to that area. Like Logan said, we've been working on this together and really feel like we've got something that works great for everyone. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
So we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this requires a public hearing, so at this time I will open the public hearing, and if you would like to come speak about the planned development district of the bottle, please come on forward now. Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Ask for a motion, comments, questions.
I've got a question. There were two or three things with the original conditions, and one about the amount of commercial area. And we acquiesced to have less commercial area and more residential. And then I think we talked about the possibility of moving some of these higher density homes up adjacent to the commercial area, and the less dense homes further away as a normal good planning process. And I was curious why the developer wants to keep that low density up close to the commercial area. Why did you not want to switch that?
So, yeah, I appreciate the question. This was.
Can you come, I'm sorry, you're going to have to come forward so we can get you on the mic there, I'm afraid.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the question, Mr. Lasby. Yeah, just working through the phasing of this and being able to offer the single family product. That's the product we prefer there in several of these phases. Working with staff, we felt like it fit best to leave that as it were. Yes, sir.
I don't understand the term "it fit best" and the phasing process. Could you not adjust the phasing, and why does it not fit the other way? It just wasn't real clear. I didn't get all your answer.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, so just the entrance will be the south entrance will be the first point of construction there, and so as the hopefully future owner of this property, we wanted to be able to build some single family and some of the higher density in each of those phases, and so I guess that's maybe a win for us, less so than City of Auburn, but working with staff, we felt like this was still a good fit for everybody.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate the question.
What's going to be driving your commercial building, the development of the commercial properties? How's that how does that work into your phasing plan?
Yes, sir. Just market demand. So as soon as this becomes available, if this were to be approved, we would start marketing that immediately, and would be built to suit. We're a commercial builder as well, so would be happy to build to suit.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I was the one who advocated to postpone this for months to get more clarification and some of my concerns either clarified or addressed, and they have been in this period of time.
So is that a motion?
I can make a motion, if you're ready for a motion, sir.
Okay.
I move that we recommend to City Council that the bottle PDD be approved,
Second.
subject to, of course, all the conditions
Staff conditions.
and comments in the
Motion
staff
and a
report.
second. Any further discussion by the commission? Okay, let's go ahead and have a roll call.
Bridges?
Yes.
Chancellor?
Yes?
Jaeger?
Yes.
Lazenby?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
McCord?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Reitenbaugh?
Yes.
Birmingham?
Yes.
Okay, number 4 on the old business agenda is the bottle conditional uses, which is PL 2021-00370. Mr. Kipp.
Yes, this is the same subject property. They are, as part of a PDD development with a master development plan, there are certain uses that they must request through the conditional use process that would accompany the plan development district. So they're requesting several uses. You've got the full list of uses in the staff report, but we did want to clarify and, for the record, and make it known that we would like to restrict certain uses to specific areas of the development. So those uses and where they would go are presented here and in the staff report. There are also some uses that we would recommend that you not include in the list of uses, and those are auto body paint shop, flea market, parking garages, and small engine repair. So if you are inclined to approve it, it would be with all staff conditions, and the applicant and property owner are amenable to that as well.
All right, thank you. Better get a seat farther forward.
That'd be a good idea. Yeah, Logan is correct there. We've been working with staff to identify uses. The reason there's a request at all is because of the PDD overlay, and we fully support the list that the staff and I have worked together to cull. So we support their conditionals that they pulled off as well.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I open this for a public hearing. At this point, please come forward if you'd like to speak about these conditional uses at the bottle. Seeing no one, I'm going to close public hearing and look for a motion or further discussion from the commission.
I'd move to approve item 4 on the agenda.
A second.
In a second, can we have a roll call,
With
please?
staff comments, all right?
Unless
With staff
with staff
comments, I'm
comments.
sorry.
Any further discussion?
Sleep.
Okay.
Bridges?
Yes.
Chancellor?
Yes?
Jaeger? Yes. Lazenby?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
McCord?
Yes.
Reese?
Yes.
Reitenbaugh?
Yes.
Birmingham?
Yes.
Okay, at this point, we're going to get to the consent agenda. Before we get started, would any of the commissioners like to pull any of the consent agenda items for separate discussion? Okay. So I've acknowledged and listed all the consent items earlier in the process. And so at this time, I'm just looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes of the packet meeting of September the 8th and the regular meeting September the 9th.
A second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Thank you for reading them out.
Consent agenda is approved. Now we move on to new business. And the first item on new business is the Preserve PDD amendment, which is PL 2021-00633. Mr. Howell.
Yes, Yes, sir. Okay, so this application is a request to amend the Preserve PDD. Preserve PDD is it consists of about 787 acres on the northwest side of town. It's surrounded mostly by rural zoning district or property in the county. It's also bordered by the university property on the eastern side. It includes a permitted number of dwelling units of 1,501 dwelling units. And this request is a request to change 88 of those from single family to townhomes. Townhomes are not currently allowed in the PDD, and so that's the request, is to change to do 1-for-1 swap. Those unit numbers would stay the same. This is the existing approved master development plan for the preserved PDD. Shown here, you see phases 1 through 7. Not shown on here is the phase 10, which is part of the property on the south side of West Farmville Road under a separate builder and owner. Currently, 1 through 4 are mostly complete, and 5 is in the process of being built now. It comes out to about half of the total units having been at least permitted and subdivided. Their request is to modify the remaining phases of 6 and 7, shown here. They're going to be taking they're taking 25 homes from phase 5 and 2 homes from phase 4 that have not been completed yet, constructed, and assigning that to phase 6, where the townhomes would be located on the western side of the property. As a result of them condensing the development into that area, they're able to provide twice as much open space as they were providing, and so staff is appreciative of that. Should work out well for the residents in the area. Connectivity is being maintained through the eastern and the western side of the property and development as was requested. There was one connection that they still need to show moving north on the northeast side of the property, which is included in staff comments.
Is that, should that be built out? Is that still part of the preserve? That one piece of the street you're talking about, the stub, you're talking about putting a stub out in up there on the north side, right?
So it's on the stub out itself is on the northeastern side of the property. It
Right.
actually extends out of the property and connects into adjacent property that's outside of the PDD. It's part of the subdivision regulation that they just provide connections through adjacent properties.
Oh, so that's not part of the preserve, or is it?
The stub out?
That piece of property that the stub out's going into, is that part of the preserve?
No. Well, no, it's not.
Okay.
And are you, just to make sure, are you talking about the property that's on the western side?
Right, right.
That's a Pear Tree Farm.
Okay.
And it's a separate connection.
Got it.
Here's a list that shows the phasing of the preserve currently, and you can see the dates that are included there. We have had a lot of conversation with the developer as far as what would be required in the PDD to allow this introduction. We've also received an awful lot of correspondence that from neighboring residents, and wanted to, for the purpose just to clarify what sounds like there might be a misconception with some of the comments that we've received at least, is just exactly what a townhome is. And so wanted to make sure that there was the understanding that when we say 88 units being changed from a single family unit to a townhome, what that actually meant. So a structure that includes townhomes can include anywhere from 3 to 10 townhomes based on the zoning ordinance. Each one of those 3 to 10 units is the exact same as a single family that would occupy either a single family dwelling unit or a townhome. And so by saying 88 units, that's not 88 townhome structures. That's 88 units that would be divided into, divided amongst those structures being 3 to 10 units per structure. So wanted to make sure that was
With the
understood.
intent of each unit being a single-family
It includes,
dwelling.
each unit is as a townhome, in order for it to be considered a townhome, it has to have a lot line, it is under its own ownership. It's not a multifamily apartment where it is a single lot with multiple units all on one property. Each property has its boundaries, just like a single-family home does, and just in this case, that property line moves through a wall, that's all.
Question, for clarification, the base zoning of the preserve is DDH, is that correct?
That is correct.
Which means then that any unit built there, townhome or detached house, has to conform to the single-family definition residency.
So is the base zoning district, the base zoning that governs the densities as well as the open space requirements. Any use becomes conditional in the PDD. But it is worth pointing out that DDH zoning district does, even if it does not have a PDD, a DDH zoning district allows townhomes conditionally.
It does, but the residency of those is by single family.
That is correct.
By our single family
By the
definition.
family definition, that's correct.
That's right.
No more than 2 unrelated.
Which is
That's
no more
right,
than two
in
unrelated
each of
units.
those townhomes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So, any of your questions of staff?
I do have one more question, and I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. In the PDD, are townhouses not permitted, or are they conditional use?
They are always every use is a conditional use in a PDD. Just like the previous case that you heard, you had the conditional use that was presented for the bottle. All uses are conditional until they are approved.
I heard you say not allowed, so I want to make sure I was,
They're not allowed in this PDD only because they have not been approved yet.
okay. That's
Just
what
as
I
they
wanted,
would be in the other.
that's what I wanted to make sure I was understanding correctly. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay.
And the applicant is here.
Like Mr. Slocum, I think I saw him out there. You have something you'd like to come tell us? Evening.
Good evening, David Slocum. I'm representing the developer. I appreciate Jay clarifying some fake news that's been out there today or recently. Social media is a good thing, but sometimes misinformation gets passed around and it wreaks havoc. So this property has been under contract by Knight Homes for quite some time. Knight Homes is a family-run business, and they fairly recently decided to merge with Dan Ryan Builders. Dan Ryan Builders is a much more experienced and larger company. They are active all up and down the East Coast and in the Atlanta area. And decided to take another look at this master plan along with Knight. I think it's important to know that Jay and Chris Knight are still involved in the daily operations of the business. They are in charge of this division. And they've been building homes here in Auburn for 11 years. All of the sales staff is the same, all of the subcontractors are the same. The field superintendents are all still here, the same people. So we were asked to take another look at this master plan. The previous plan, as you saw, was basically to continue with 250 more acres of the same 80-foot lots. The major differences in this new plan versus the old plan is a major increase in open space, the addition of the townhomes, and a larger variety of single-family lot sizes. As Jay mentioned, the open space increased from 94 to 184 acres. That is a significant change. Just to put that in perspective, if you look at about 200 trees for every acre, that's almost 37,000 trees that will still be standing when the last house is built. So that's a large open area that's open to all the residents. It'll be on open space lots that everybody has access to. The townhomes, it was a 1-to-1 swap, 88 for 88, so there's no increase in density. The townhome, could we go to the townhomes at the entrance will be rear loaded, so that'll keep the front entry clean, no driveways and parking out front. The townhomes in the cul-de-sac were designed to be isolated. They want to target an older retiree type community there. So as you can see, it's surrounded by trees and creeks. It's on a cul-de-sac. Should be a nice quiet area for that. The townhomes are going to be fee simple lots, sold just like the single-family homes. I think there's also been some comments going around about increased traffic and so forth, which is to be expected based on the other misinformation that was out there. There will be a new traffic study that will be completed soon, and the traffic engineer has reviewed this new plan. And based on the fact that townhomes generate 30 to 40% less traffic than a single family, then we're expecting to show a reduction in overall traffic with this new traffic study. So, I mean, I'm proud to stand here and present this to you. I feel like this is a much better plan. There's been a lot of time involved and a lot of thought put into this new plan, and I hope that you'll see all the positive factors that are part of it. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Chairman, one quick question. Will these residences be part of the homeowners association?
I knew that would come up, and I asked that, and they said it's still undecided. I hate to give you that answer, but they're still considering options. There's going to be a number of different amenity areas, so I'm not sure if it will be or not. One of the owners mentioned today that it could be a sub-association as part of the larger one. Nanette probably knows more about that. I don't get involved in that part of it, but that's all I can tell you tonight. I'm sorry.
And by that, he means like AU Club has Augusta, and it has Fairway, and it has Golf View, like all of those that are within it. So some people like to pull each section out and have their own association within it.
Yeah, that's understandable. I just was trying to clarify in my own mind the amenities, how you share amenities, the other amenities in the preserve with these people.
I'm not sure how they'll be shared.
Pay to play.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, this requires a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing at this time. So if anybody would like to come and speak on the Preserve PDD amendment, please come forward.
Just as a point of administrative clarification,
Oh, there you are. I heard this voice and I couldn't figure out where it's coming from.
so I'd mentioned that the residential, everything has to be through a conditional use process. Residential uses in the PDDs, they don't need a conditional use. However, they do have to be specifically approved through the MDP amendment process.
As part of the PDD.
Right, so that's just to clarify.
Okay, anybody, come on up if you'd like to speak. When you're done speaking, please sign in. And give us your name and address to start, if you don't mind.
Sure. Chris Weiswater, 2016 Mohican Drive. So I'm in the preserve. Been there for a year. We moved into the residence specifically out of the AU Club because it was a single-family dwelling area with houses, We had the AU club that was becoming inundated with the townhomes. It's just not what we wanted to see. Evidently, they've been planning this for a long period of time that they haven't told any residents about up until recently with the planning commission. So if they wanted our input, you would think that they would have actually reached out to the people who are living there. Because I don't think any of those people live there. You know, I don't know anything about Dan Ryan. He recently purchased it from Eastbrook. But as far as where we live, what we wanted, we moved into the neighborhood specifically for that reason. So when you guys are doing this, I don't know if any of you guys live in the preserve, but you've got something that's changing without asking any of the residents what we actually think about this process. There hasn't been a public hearing besides this that we can actually have a talk with Dan Ryan Builders or anybody else. So I ask for you guys to look at it from a resident's perspective, from people who've spent a lot of money and a lot of time looking for a home in a single family dwelling, that they're all of a sudden going to change that. I have a problem with them not knowing if the HOA is going to be covered with that. Are they going to be part of our pool? Are they going to be part of our clubhouse? How does that work exactly? Evidently, they don't know, because they told us they don't know. So before you guys pass it, I would really like to have a better understanding of what that looks like for the residents of our preserve. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, over here, sorry.
It's these things.
I just feel like maybe making a comment on this HOA and amenities. You know, I wasn't here when this was all approved, but in my experience, you get a PDD or a PUD approved, all the land within that PUD would be able to share in the amenities and the common open space and those types of things. To do otherwise, I think would require you and the city council through an amendment process to exclude land from the PDD. That's what I've seen in the past. I've seen where somebody you go through a recession, there's a piece of land there, it sat for 10 years, and somebody else has bought it, the bank sold it or something like that, and they want to develop it separate from the PDD. You got to go through this process to take it out of the PDD. So I would like to think that this is still part of the PDD, and whether you change the use from one thing to another, one residential form of development to another, that it ought to be part of the same PDD and part of the ability to share in that amenity and open space, whatever that may be. And if there's an intent to do otherwise, I think they ought to bring that to you and share that with you and the city council.
I agree. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Sismar. I own the house at 2132 West Farmville Road, which is in Section 2 of the very front of the preserve. There's a bit of confusion, or there was a bit of confusion. I may have been the spreader of the bad news, or the definition of a townhome unit is the entire building, not individual units, saying that, one building is actually 4 units, not one. So I apologize for that if I've caused the builders or any issue. One of the things that I did, why I bought in the preserve, was originally the preserve was a retirement community for assisted living. That's why the lots are so small, and they're all single family, they're single floor houses. Eastbrook had specifically designed that for people with disabilities. I'm a disabled vet. It's one of the reasons that I bought there, and I was going to have my father move in there and my mother-in-law, but my father, passed from COVID this year, so that kind of fell through in the process of actually closing on a house. So there was, that's kind of the thing. But what Eastbrook Homes and Knight Homes originally advertised was a, bedroom community, single-family houses on large lots, and with estate lots on the front side of the property. There was no multi-use stuff. There is no apartments. There's not game day, or there is, but there weren't supposed to be game day houses that are just vacant the whole rest of the year. But once Knight Homes and Eastbrook Homes decided that they were going with Dan Ryan, the residents weren't even informed. It was one day I call up Eastbrook Homes and they said, "Oh, we don't own that anymore, not our problem. Your warranty's still good, but anything that we told you that was going to go good, You just could have to talk to Night Homes or Dan Ryan. We're totally out of it. We washed our hands. So the guarantees that we got originally for large custom houses on large lots and everything else is now completely gone. Where there was custom homes with Eastbrook and Night Homes, Dan Ryan's homes, if you look on the map, in the bottom kind of corner on the left side, one entire street they've just started chucking up spec houses. It's the same exact building with 25 on each side of the road. So the custom home guarantee or promise that we got from Eastbrook and Night Homes is gone. They're just pumping up a bunch. They have a bunch of for sale signs on the front like, hey, come buy this home, and half a dozen different real estate agents are trying to jump in there and get that stuff sold. But the intent was that that's not what we bought into, nor was the original council decision to make that the way it was zoned. Additionally, the misnomer with the condos / townhomes is those buildings aren't going to be ADA compliant based on it's a multifamily or a multi-story building. My father was in a wheelchair. How's he supposed to get to the second floor? That potentially they said, oh, it's for seniors or whatever. You can't put a multi-story building for somebody in their 70s or 80s that has to go up the stairs all the time and still consider that a senior-friendly area or whatever. The buildings were all originally designed that were ADA compliant to be single-story on those smaller lots, so that seniors didn't have to take care of the properties, or they could get somebody to mow the lawn in 5 minutes. That it wasn't a 2.5 acre property like I have. So that's kind of what the intent was. The other issue that they do have is that the way that the thing is designed right now, both sides of the preserve don't actually connect. So there's sections of, because of it's not really shown really well, but there are multiple lakes inside the preserve. So you can't get from one side of the preserve to the other without going back onto Farmville Road. So that's one of the things that they don't kind of show. Additionally, the connection to whatever it's called, Pearson Farms, or the new place that they're building over there, is only going to increase traffic in their neighborhood, with them cutting through our neighborhood, because it's pretty deep and you have to pretty much wind through the entire thing to get way back to where those condos are going to be. So they're going to be driving through somebody else's neighborhood to get to their house, which our builder is then putting the onus on whoever's buying those or selling those homes to say, hey, don't worry about all this traffic and everything else. We're not going to sign up on that. So that's those were my concerns. If you had any questions, I'm free for. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, and I do oppose it.
Okay. Gathered, thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this item?
Hi, my name is Jordan Drummons. I'm at 2320 Red Tail Lane. I closed on my home 4 months ago, almost to the day. When we purchased our home, we're in section 4. We just purchased, and our lot backs up to parts of this new area. And when we bought our home and when we asked the questions, they were single family homes. And so that's what I'm gonna see, and that's where my children are gonna be. So I feel like I've gotten a little bit of the bait and switch, because we purchased our home through Eastbrook, and we didn't get to close on our home, and they had sold out to Dan Ryan. And I realized that some of those things happen, but I'm not, there's other people here tonight that they felt like they spent their hard-earned money on something, and now it's going to be different. I would say that HOA clarification is going to be really important to a lot of the current residents. There's a lot of pieces when it comes to townhomes and covenants in an HOA that our current covenants aren't going to cover. Who's going to answer some of the questions that I had were, you know, is all the lawn maintenance gonna be the same so that they look the same and look consistent so that it stays nice? There's so many pieces that of an HOA covenant that governs townhomes that's not in existence today, and so those are some of the things that I have concerns with, that I know my neighbors have concerns with. That I talked to my neighbor down the road the other day, and they moved out of their current neighborhood, out of their old neighborhood, because townhomes were going up. They haven't been in their home a year, and here we go again. And so I hate it. I hate it for them. I hate it for my family. And I think that for the current residents to get behind this and understand and accept this, there's got to be a lot of education that happens. Because right now, we found out because there was a sign in the front of the neighborhood. And it sounds like they don't have a lot of the answers that we need to understand to get on board with. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. I will just make one comment before we deliberate here, is that homeowners associations are just not before us. We don't have a call on those. Those are basically built and worked between the builder / developer and the people that buy the houses there. So, you know, we really don't have that's not part of our decision process, I'm afraid. Okay. Questions, motion,
I do.
comments?
I have one. Okay, Mr. Slocum. This area that is proposed to be more dense has its own entry and exit.
Yes, there are 2 more entrances. They're actually the exact same location as they were before. Yes, 2 more entrances on Farmville Road, and that traffic would be expected to take the shortest route naturally.
I know that townhomes don't necessarily have to be multi-story, but in the retirement side of that, is that, I mean, from a calming of the group, is that
Yeah,
a
those are
potential to be?
wider
Okay.
for that purpose. You know, townhomes don't have to be 2-story.
Okay.
And I forgot to mention earlier, that they will be sold, not rented. So they'll be sold to one family, just like the single family houses.
Thank you.
I actually have a question too. When you talked about the new builder bought the land from Eastbrook and they wanted to relook at this, what was I mean, is this more of their product model? What was the thought process behind why they want to change the original
I think they just wanted to
PDD?
offer a more diverse
Okay.
product, just to serve a larger cross-section of the community, rather than having, like I said, another 250 acres of the exact same thing.
I think it speaks to affordability in our area, personally. I know that has to have some sort of benefit, and the fact that keeping the trees is really beneficial to me.
I think that's a great thing about the affordability piece. You know, I just heard from somebody recently, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but a starting single-family home in Auburn's over $300K. You know, and I know I don't know the price of these, but I gotta believe that, it's not gonna be as much. You know, it just gives us a little more, housing stock to sell to people that can't afford 3 acres.
I think that the open space is a powerful argument, and it's difficult for me not to get on board with that. But the P in PDD stands for a plan, and to me, it's presented so that everybody knows what to expect, especially the people who are buying homes in that development. And that, in my mind, is a promise. And as Ms. Drummonds spoke, 4 months ago, she bought her house, and now she finds herself in a potentially completely different situation. And I don't think that is appropriate. Townhouses, they might be a great affordable option, but I don't believe they go in a plan that was offered to all of the hundreds of current homeowners as traditional single-family residences. I don't think that's fair to anyone who's invested and who bought into something that it's now taken from them.
Yeah, I tend to concur with what you just said. I'm kind of split on both sides. I definitely have empathy for the speakers that came up who actually live in that area. And, you know, I guess the reasoning for the change, because like you said, it's the PDD, the reason for the change just sounds to me like you know, basically make more money. You know, that seems to be what I've heard. But I do like the idea of the open space and you know, it, as far as the density goes, you know, like you said, I think there probably will be a reduction in traffic overall, possibly, you know, things like that. So I'm kind of mixed on it, but I definitely do, you know, I understand the argument about the bait and switch kind of feeling. So.
And I agree. I'm definitely on board with more green space and the trees and all that. But I have to concur with her that plan means a plan. And so I'm in thinking the same, that we have to support a plan if that's the plan.
I would also maybe add that I feel like every single development that we have seen in the past several months includes a townhouse component, which is great for affordable housing. And so we are seeing more of that. That's more and more common. So it is good that we have that variety of product. But an existing older neighborhood in the grand scheme of neighborhoods that did not include that, I think should not include that.
I think as time goes on and conditions change, developers have an option to make a change, and I think that's beneficial to them and overall can be a benefit to the process. But I don't believe what's been proposed is better than what was originally done. I think it is a degradation than what we had approved before, and I'm really sympathetic to the idea that the plan that we approved was a promise of what they wanted to do. Now, if they want to improve it, in everybody's opinion, I think they have the opportunity to do that, but I don't think this is an improvement overall.
Well, I'm struggling with this because what we have is a very large PDD. These townhomes that he's representing here are a long way from some of the people that are opposed to them. They're not in close proximity to the townhomes. Another thing that goes through my mind, we keep throwing around this single family when we're really meaning single family detached. Because of the zone this is in, these are single family attached building, home units. They're single family. So it's not a matter of bringing in any more units to the project, or bringing in any more families, or any more traffic. It was interesting to see here what the industry says about townhomes generating less than single family detached houses. So I am really struggling, and it has its own entrance. So the concern for them winding through these other phases of this subdivision is sort of minimal, I would think. Another thing that keeps going through my mind is that in addition to many of these homes that people may be concerned about it are not in close proximity, the only people that is, according to this map, is Phase 6A, which is complete. Those are the only lots that are anywhere near, and they're not adjacent to the townhomes. The Phase 6B is not to be completed until 22, so anybody that would buy there would know that there are townhomes there. So this is a tough one for me, but I don't see the damage done to the value of the property of the people if with these single-family townhomes are built here as opposed to the same number of small lot, single-family detached houses.
You're correct. There is no existing home that would be visually within distance anywhere close to seeing the townhomes, nor would they ever even have a reason to drive through the townhomes unless they just wanted to go out that way for some reason. The townhomes are completely surrounded by all new lots, in which those people would see the plan and know that there are townhomes there.
Can you put those phases back, please? Thank you.
I think we're gonna go ahead and deliberate, so if you don't mind taking a seat.
Sure.
Thanks. Excuse?
Can I enter a rebuttal, please?
No, sir. The public hearing's closed. Okay, do we have any further comment, or we just wanna have a motion and a vote?
For the purposes of phrasing it the way that we've been advised, I will move to approve PL 2021-633.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call on this.
With the
With
conditions?
and so
With
forth.
conditions.
With conditions.
Thank you.
Bridges,
No.
Hansler,
Yes?
Jaeger,
No.
Lazenby,
No.
Marshall,
No.
Ford,
Yes?
Reese,
Yes.
Breitenbaugh,
Yes.
Birmingham.
No.
It's 5-4 against.
Okay. Motion fails. And we move on to item number 12. Now, item number 12 and item number 13 are still, we were notified they want to be postponed by the,
Yes, sir, we have a request from the property owner or the applicant to defer or postpone to the next meeting, which is, I wrote the date down, it's
11-9.
11/9, thank you very much.
okay, so I'll make a motion from the chair for item number 12, which is Old Sanford rezoning, PL 2021-00634, to postpone to a date certain, November, say that date?
9.
November 9th. Okay.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Okay, motion carries. We'll postpone number 12. Number 13, item 13, Old Sanford PDD. Also, this is PL 2021-00635. And we make a motion to postpone that till date certain, 9 November.
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 14. This is the Sutherland rezoning from rural to development district housing, DDH. This is PL 2021-638. Mr. Kipp.
Good evening. This is a request by the property owner Donahue Land LLC, represented by Brett Baspin Foresight Group Incorporated. This property was on your consent agenda with a request for annexation, so that will move forward to City Council for confirmation or denial. The subject property is shown here in the exhibit. It consists of new land that's currently in the unincorporated county, as well as some portion of lots that were previously annexed and rezoned, but were, due to a change in the platting, were not incorporated into the city limits and zoning. So cleans up that, and is also requesting, I believe it's 6 acres to be rezoned from rural to development district housing. There is a subdivision plat, that preliminary plat that follows this request. Just want to, staff recommends support, or recommends approval of the rezoning. The DDH does meet the future land use plan and is surrounded by DDH, so it is a logical rezoning request. We do want to just point out that any developments that are rezoned to DDH do require availability of utilities, including water and sewer. Sewer is available to the property, so if it is developed, it will be required to connect into sewer. Happy to answer any questions, and I believe the property owner is here if you have any questions for him.
Like to speak, or?
No comment.
Okay.
Unless you have a question.
Thanks, sir. Okay, this requires a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at this time. If you'd like to speak on the rezoning, Sutherland rezoning, please come forward. All right, seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Questions, comments, motion?
Move to approve case PL 2021-638, forward to city council with recommendation of approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay, this is, the next item is also related to Sutherland subdivision. This is a second redivision of a lot in the subdivision. This is PL 2021-00643. Mr. Kipp.
Yes, sir. This is a preliminary plat request for a 5-lot conventional subdivision located at the terminus of Sutherland Lane. I believe last year you approved a rezoning, annexation rezoning of lots that they don't show up on the Parks map, but lots along Sutherland Lane, which was extended through that platting process. The property owner is proposing this subdivision layout that would terminate in a cul-de-sac, and based on the subdivision requirements, staff is recommending a connection be provided to the adjacent lands, which are undeveloped and in the county. Find my note here. The property is within the optimal boundary, and just want to find the right. That would, wrong staff report. That would definitely help. Sorry about that. Are your separation? Thanks. Okay, sorry about that. It's Part B of the subdivision regulations, streets and circulation requires that a subdivision plat provide a connection point to adjacent undeveloped properties. Based on that, staff is recommending denial of the subdivision plat, for it does not meet the subdivision requirements, specifically that section referenced, and it's also referenced in your staff report. If the property owner is amenable to postponing or requesting a postponement to revise that, staff would be amenable to that as well. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Comment from the
If we can leave the last drawing up, it'd be great, which was, it's this one.
You can advance the slides here.
Yeah, I can't. Hey, I'm Tom Haley, and Brett could not be here tonight. He's in a continuing education thing in South Carolina, so. Cam, just want to get feedback. If you look just to the north of this, you'll see a 5-lot subdivision just above it that we approved with you guys a year ago, less than a year ago, where we cul-de-saced off that property off of Whiskey Run Road. We're attempting to do the same thing here. I know this looks awkward on this design here, but this is for 5 large lots, 1-acre lots, and one in the cul-de-sac. When Sutherland to the west, right here, there's 5 lots on each side of that road. 300 foot road just been put in, houses are being built. We met with these neighbors to the west. They were pretty emphatic about this not going through. I told them our intention was to cul-de-sac just like we did Whiskey to a buck. I appreciate the city's plan, but I cannot, so we drew the cul-de-sac like we told them we would, and that's kind of where we are. We prefer to put the cul-de-sac in. There's lots of cul-de-sacs throughout this project. In all of Camden Ridge, there's a dozen ways to get in and out of this subdivision without going through what has now been determined to be 52 acres of floodplain. When we bought this property, there was 13 acres of floodplain. The map's been redone, there's 52 acres of floodplain down here. Sewer is a long way away. And that's why, that was the circumstance of our thinking of doing this, making these larger lots to buffer between that and the floodplain. As being pretty familiar with Donahue out there, I'm not sure joining Donahue is, anywhere in this area is smart to do because of the traffic. Maybe there's gonna be designs change with this road and all that, but I was just gonna get feedback from you guys. We'd like to put the cul-de-sac in. Planning recommends that we don't. Somebody wanna engineer and tell me how this joins and it's safe and who's gonna do that, I guess we're all ears. But I think we're gonna ask to put the cul-de-sac in to the 1-acre lots, which would be, just exactly what we did to the north. And, I think be an addition and a termination, a fair addition and a termination to Camden Ridge. So, either way, we're not gonna get it.
So I'm here, what I'm hearing is you would like to put the cul-de-sac in, but you're amenable to talking to somebody that can convince you otherwise. Does that mean you wanna postpone?
Yeah, it's just
and-
not practical. I mean, I'm in the business, the sewer is at Saugahatchee, this is all downhill. I mean, so it needs to be a larger lot to make that work. But we're not gonna get in an argument or a fight
No.
about it, we're just gonna throw all the facts to you guys, let you decide, and I
But we're
guess
here
we can
for
take
it.
it to city council. I've been in enough city council meetings to see where they adhere to the complaints that will come from this joining from the neighborhood, and then, we cut it off. So I think y'all seen some of those, so I'm just laying it out, and get your experienced advice.
Thank you.
And I'm available for any questions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What part of this, do we have a floodplain map available?
We do not, but generally can see,
It's gonna be back to the south, Dr. McCord.
Yeah, I see.
Saugahatchee bends there. There's about 80 acres to the south and 52 of it are in floodplain.
Well, what is this, it shows on this aerial, a road that does connect, comes very close to this property, connecting to Donahue. That looks like an improved road.
There has been some trails in there, and there's a county road, there's a county portion in there for a large lot that kind of goes into that floodplain.
Well,
Yeah, it has a main entrance off of Donahue.
it has a main entrance off of Donahue. Seems like to me that would be a logical connection point right there, unless that road is going through the floodplain, and it looks like the floodplain's down south.
It backs up to those very large lots where possibly you could have horses in that floodplain, is the idea there. It's just a different
Mr. Chairman,
concept of it.
apologize, sorry. I thought he was done. As far as I know, staff has looked at that floodplain in the past, and it's below the area that we're talking about to the south.
Let's have a public hearing here real quick so that we can deliberate with this. Would anybody like to come forward and speak on this item? We do require a public hearing on the Sutherland. This is the redivision of Lot 2. Okay, seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Let's continue our discussion if needed, or have a vote, motion and a vote.
I could just clarify a couple things before you make a decision. If you decide to deny it, it's 1 year. 1 year, they have to wait
To come back.
to come back for a preliminary plat.
Yes.
6 months.
So if it's denied, you are the final authority for subdivision
Right.
plat, so it would not go to city council. The rezoning does forward on to city council for final either confirmation or denial. If you deny the subdivision plat, he could wait a year or request a rehearing. If he asks to postpone it, then he can come back before a year's over.
Well, that I guess I would offer to you, Mr. Haley. If that's kind of where we're at, we're going to have a vote, and if we vote to deny, then it will be a year before you can come back. Otherwise, if you would like to, if you're interested in postponing and having a more conversation with the staff, we could do that over the next month, and then come on back and deliberate final.
We can
Just
do
for-
that. If you, like, I just was gonna see what y'all thought you would do if you indicated that we'd move on to the cul-de-sac. If it's, then maybe we should give it a.
Well, I'd offer it as your call.
We're not gonna go forward with the rezoning and the annexation. I mean, we'll.
Yeah, the rezoning is
No
gone.
point of us doing this. We're
Right,
trying to-
rezoning's going, I mean, it's going to city council, and we approve that, so that's no problem. It's this subdivision plat that we're deliberating on now, and we have the final vote will be here. This will not go forward to the city council. So if you wanted to spend some time kind of working with the staff a little more and coming to a conclusion, and then if it's the same conclusion, we'll see it next month and we'll vote on it.
Can I ask a question for clarification
Sure.
before? Can't come back for a year, even if there are changes made, or if there are changes made, he can come back and resubmit with changes?
That's a good question.
Usually, if there are no substantial changes,
It's
you can't
substantial
come back with the
change.
same
You have to vote
application.
to
But
have a
I'm not
rehearing.
familiar with our ordinance, but that's what I'm used to in other cities.
I feel like we've just
While
done
she's
that.
looking that up,
Well, this is
That's
the
why I wanted to
subreg,
make
so
sure.
it's a little
I wasn't
different.
sure if subregs fell under the same.
Mr.
It's
Chairman,
the
while,
other.
while she's looking that up, if the applicant or property owner would like to postpone, use the right terminology here, postpone this request, we would just ask that he ask the planning commission to postpone the request to that November meeting, please.
This call, that's what I was mentioning.
I'd like to postpone the request.
Okay.
And I'd like to delay the annexation and the zoning going forward to city council unless this is gonna come in. When we want it all locked in together.
Well, we've already, I'm gonna need some help on that one, because we've already made a vote. I mean, we recommended the rezoning go forward.
I think that unfortunately has to go forward. Now, the request could be to the city council. You might want them to postpone taking action on that.
It only has to go within 60 days, I
Yeah.
believe.
We've always tied these together.
You talking about the
The rezoning.
rezoning?
It,
Okay.
it can
All
happen.
right, so if we can slow that down, we're happy to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'm asking you to
postpone?
postpone.
Okay. All right, so for item number 15, I'll make a motion to postpone to a date.
No. You were just basing it on his request, we're postponing it.
We still have to make the motion though, don't we?
We
I
want to
think
be
it's
real careful.
based on his request, you're making a motion to
Right.
Okay,
postpone.
based on his request.
Based on the applicant's request, I'm making a motion to postpone item number 15, which is PL 2021-00643, until a date certain, 9 November. A second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. That's postponed.
Okay.
And then just to clarify, what we'll have to do is at the next city council meeting with this rezoning, Mr. Haley can ask the council to
No.
post.
It doesn't have to go on their agenda for 60 days.
Right.
Okay,
That's what I'm hearing.
Unless things have changed.
So we'll just slow it down. Okay, got it. Okay.
Maybe one point of clarification. I know y'all did this a date certain, November the 7th.
Ninth.
Ninth.
Is it possible to take that 60 days? Sure. Or if I find that out, we may have a conflict where it's not gonna be available.
We can work with
You
you.
can make
Is that something you could do administratively, or do we have to?
He can
vote on
request
it?
that with staff, right?
Okay.
Are you talking about the rezoning now? I was writing
No,
something
he was
down.
talking
Or the
about the
plat?
plat.
The plat. You just made a motion to postpone it to November.
Right.
So it'll come back in November if you, and you can always postpone it again at his request if you'd like to do that, or you can postpone it tonight until December, depending on what the applicant would like you to do.
You want to?
Check my calendar.
Okay.
And Brett's calendar.
Okay. But we can deal, that can happen.
Mine, the rezoning can only be postponed for 60 days before it goes to council. So,
Right.
you know,
And
keep
if
that in
it
mind.
does not go within that 60 days, the item fails.
Right. Okay, thanks, sir. Okay, item number 16, 65 acres. Not really 65 acres, right? Lee Road 54 preliminary plat. This is PL 2021-00655. Miss Kennedy. Or is it somebody else?
Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. On the last item for Mr. Haley, you had made a motion to postpone to November 9th.
Right.
I don't know, was there a vote on that?
Yes.
Yes.
There was.
Yes.
Okay, I think some of us might have missed that,
No,
so thank you.
there
So
was.
I didn't know if we were waiting for him to come back and advise you that he checked his engineer's calendar.
No,
I heard
we
him
did.
saying that, so
We did.
thank you.
Okay, so now I'm hearing,
It's on the applicant's
Mr. Connor, are you the representative?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're gonna ask to postpone this for a month, if y'all would.
At the request of the applicant, I'm gonna make a motion to postpone item number 16, PL 2021-00655, until a date certain, November 9th.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Number 17, Hot Works of Auburn.
Works, yes.
This is PL 2021-00611. Miss English,
All right.
our new planner.
Glad to be here.
Congratulations on the job, on the new job.
I appreciate that. This is going to be a request for conditional use approval for a commercial and entertainment use fitness studio, which is going to be at 234 North Gay Street, Suite B within that building, which is the standard, in the Urban Core zoning district. This will be a 24-hour fitness studio, and they'll use virtually instructed exercise programs, which would be a neat concept. This is consistent with the zoning and future land use. Really, no issues with it. We do recommend approval, no conditions of approval. And if you were to recommend approval, it would be before City Council next week on the 19th. And the applicant is present.
Applicant like to speak on anything, or? Only if you want to. Okay.
Never spoken to anything like this.
Okay, well, come on up. Just say you did it once.
My name is Greg Lane, and I really appreciate y'all letting me be here. It's a very beautiful facility. It's the first time I've been in here, so. it's
We like
great.
it too.
So it's awesome. No, I'm excited about it. It's a neat concept. We're gonna be working out in saunas. We're gonna have 9 different saunas where 3 people will be in each sauna, and our instructors will be on television. So we'll only have 3 employees. The most we could have at one time would probably is 27 total. So we have plenty of parking. We have a lot of just walking in business too. The standard is where we're gonna be located. They're gonna have, I think, 640 beds there, so we're hoping to get a lot of their people to come there. So it's a very different concept where you're working out heat, so it's, hopefully some of y'all would like to come too as well. It's 30 minutes, it's like working out for, 30 minutes workout to get you in and out, and 3 days a week would be awesome, but it's unlimited use, you can come as many times as you want to. So I'm excited, thank y'all for hearing me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Y'all. Thanks.
This requires a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at this time. Anybody like to come speak on Hot Works of Auburn? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Look for motion, questions, comments.
I'll move to approve Hot Works of Auburn, recommendation to City Council for approval, PL 2021-00611.
Second. The second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Item number 18, SIO2 Manufacturing Facility Expansion, PL 2021-00647. Ms. Kennedy.
Good evening. This is a conditional use request for the expansion of a manufacturing use existing in the Auburn Technology Park West, located in the industrial zone. The proposed expansion is approximately 110,000 square foot to an existing roughly 75% or 75 square foot manufacturing facility, housing SIO2, who makes medical equipment, including vials created for the Moderna vaccine. As you can see here, it's surrounded by similar uses, all within the industrial park. That therefore, staff is recommending approval, and we have not received any communication regarding it.
Okay, thank you. Was that your last presentation? Well, thank you for being with us for the time that you were. Appreciate it. You did great work. Okay, this requires a public hearing. Anybody would like to speak on this manufacturing facility expansion, please come forward. Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Questions, comments, or motion?
Move to approve item 18 on the agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Mimosa Cottages. This is PL 2021-00629. This is an appeal of a denial of a engineering design and construction manual waiver. Ms. Frazier. You didn't
We
expect
typically
that.
don't present anything on an appeal, so I'm going to sit here and say, if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. I think Mr. Lewis is here to present his case.
Yeah, this does not require a public hearing. Oh, okay.
Parker Lewis with Hydro Engineering Solutions. This is Mimosa Cottages. You guys saw this maybe about a year ago for conditional use approval. There's a single-family lot on College and a single-family lot on Mimosa. We're combining those into a kind of an L-shaped development. It's 7 cottages are going to be replacing those 2 houses. All 7 cottages are 2-bedroom cottages, so 14 beds. So what we've got, this is the site plan that if you see your screen, this is the site plan that we submitted as part of the conditional use. We've got an existing driveway that's on the southern end of the property. It's 11 feet wide. We've got to widen the driveway to 20 feet in order to get fire truck access sort of through the development. As part of the development, we have a desire to move the driveway from the southern end of the property to the northern end. This is the driveway on College. I should have said that first. So the driveway on Mimosa is fine. This is the driveway just on College. So you can see we've moved the driveway like 42 feet to the north, which is about the width of this room, by the way, just as a frame of reference. So as we've moved the driveway, the desire to do that was the southern end of the property is the high ground. And so we want the cottages, you can see the 4 cottages that are along that southern property line. That's sort of the high ground of that part of the site. And then the road would be the driveway would be below those cottages. So it's better from a drainage standpoint. The other piece of the puzzle is you can see the lot to the north as a single family house on about a 1/4 acre lot. The lot to the south is a 1 acre lot. So the lot to the south's about 4 times the size of what's to the north. So as we move the driveway, we are moving it closer to the northern driveway that's adjacent to us. However, we're moving it further away from the existing southern driveway. There's no way around us needing a waiver request. Just the nature of widening the driveway was gonna trigger a waiver request. So the property to the south is, I think, 814 College. You guys have already seen that as a conditional use approval. That's been approved as 3 houses that each have 4 units in it. If you remember that one, it's 4 2-bedroom units in 3 houses, so it's like 24 beds. So we feel like our justification for moving the driveway is both from a drainage standpoint on our site, but also if there's 2 driveways we've got to be closer to, we think it makes a little bit more sense to be closer to the northern existing driveway as opposed to the southern existing driveway, which is a much larger development. This driveway that you're looking at on College is also our exit-only driveway. So you'll come in off Mimosa, it's one way through, and this is an exit. So I know there was some concern about proximity to the driveway to our north, but we feel like with us being an exit and that being a single house, we don't have any concerns about that proximity. So happy to answer any questions you have. I know that's a lot of data.
What is the desired alternative for the staff? Or it doesn't matter? Just no to this and that's it. I mean, I guess, let me say it a different way.
Yes.
If they can't do it any other way for their project, then it just doesn't get done, is where we are.
The alternatives, as I see them, and Parker, don't let me misstate something, would be to reuse the existing drive in its current location and widen it, or
And somebody point to that, please.
it's on the south end. You see that?
Well, go back to that last
I
slide.
got it, okay.
Yeah, I did not want to answer for Allison, but to give you a frame of reference, the property to the south, I'm also working on that. That property, we just obtained a waiver approval on that driveway, and it's because I think we were reusing the existing driveway. So I think maybe there's some desire that none of these driveways meet the ordinance anywhere near, because they all predated our access management, where we started to say, okay, these driveway spacings on arterials are like 300 and 400 feet. So all of these old houses are like 70 feet apart and 120 feet apart, so none of it works. So I think there is probably a little bit of comfort on staff's part to say, well, it's an existing driveway, maybe that's a little easier it's a little bit more palatable to expand an existing driveway. And we try to do that in all cases. This is one where we were like, it would really be good if our cottages were on the high ground as opposed to the road being here and our cottage being here. That's why we're here tonight.
Well, and so using the existing driveway would shift those 4 cottages up closer to that existing single-family home instead of keeping them
It would.
to the south of the property where there's going to be a much denser development going in right below that.
Right.
Which
I
would
mean,
I think that those
Right,
two
the developments
backing
would
up
be back to
together
back,
would be.
right?
Right, I mean,
Make more
we
sense.
talked to the neighbor, I think, and sort of staff's comment was there was some concern about maybe some driver confusion. So we did talk to the neighbor to the north, and yes, they would much prefer we keep our
A
site plan.
driveway as opposed to 4
They love what
cottages.
we're doing, they're excited about it, they may rent one of them, but they would much rather our site plan as is. So yes, that is kind of how we got here.
And it looks like also, so you're saying it's one way out onto College. Is Mimosa one way in, or is it in and out? So
No,
it's
it is, it's one way in. It's one way in Mimosa, one way out on College.
okay.
But Mimosa's a two-way street,
Right.
Yeah.
and-
so
and-
in only, yes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
with Mimosa being a local street, you can have 25-foot driveway spacing.
Okay.
College is an arterial, which kicks us into these,
The wider.
right, these like I said, everything sort of.
But nothing's
non-conforming.
conforming on
Even-
that.
Nothing's conforming, and so really,
Yeah.
that's where the waiver comes in, because no matter what we would be doing, we would be making an existing non-conformity more non-conforming. So we have to have a waiver. That's the process we go through.
This is not unusual for redevelopment. This is a redevelopment,
Yeah.
and the curb cuts were there for 100 years, I don't know, a long time. And so we inherit those curb cuts. We've had to make these kinds of decisions before, as long as it did not create a danger. The staff has to adhere to the manual. This is a manual. We create this manual that sets these spacings, but they don't always apply in every circumstance. So in this particular case, I think that the slight trade-off is they made it one way. That makes a lot of difference, I
One
think,
way
in
out.
spacing,
Even
because
better.
on North College, the reason you have the spacing so wide on arterials is so you don't rear end somebody as they are making a fast turn. This one is going to be right, only, exit only. So that to me mitigates a little bit of that problem there.
Agreed.
So, I'm comfortable with it, even though I strongly support the manual under most circumstances. But when we deal with redevelopment, we're going to have to look at these things.
So it kicks it up to still be that wide even though it's one way?
Yeah, because of
Fire
fire,
truck.
it's gotta be
Fire
20 feet
truck.
for a fire.
Got it.
20
Was
feet is
hearing
the
that.
minimum.
Got it.
I mean, I'd rather the street be a little wider and be able to get a fire truck down there than to have a curb cut distance
Right.
for a single-family home. I think the fire truck's probably more important.
So,
Could I have a
motion on this? Oh, go ahead.
My apologies.
Mr. Foot?
And it might be something that Parker could provide. I'm not familiar with what all the zoning allows just yet and what the adjacent zoning is, and so staff can clarify that. But looking at the two properties to the north, and if they're the same zoning, then I'm assuming that there's some redevelopment potential there that could happen. If that was the case, and if you're inclined to approve the waiver and we get a driveway there, I'm just wondering, is there some opportunity for the property that Parker's working on to provide an easement for the property to the north so that if that redevelops, they can tie into that exit driveway right there and not have a separate driveway?
He's doing the property to the south, I think.
Is it
right?
south?
on the
It's
south.
the
Yeah.
south.
My apologies.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, no, on the screen that's up there, the house that's to the north,
It's staying
for now.
for now.
For now.
yeah.
But if it redevelops and it can go to a higher density like this property and the one to the south did, we could eliminate a driveway if your client would be willing to provide a cross-access easement there. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, great question. The other wrinkle here.
It's always a wrinkle.
Yeah, always a wrinkle. So, we also have to do water quality. And so what's to the immediate north of our driveway, before you get to our property line, is a bio-retention swale, all along that entire length of the property line. So, you can't really see it on this old site plan.
On your property or off your property?
Yeah, it has to be on
On
our
yours.
property. But so there, in other words, there's no way to connect our drive to the property to the north. Now, the property to the north is a 1/4 acre. In the RDD, you could probably get a 4-unit development at the max, probably. I would envision those 3 properties being put together really probably before I saw a
Possibly.
redevelopment. But you never know, somebody may sell their house and say, I can do 4 units here. But the layout of our site is so snug with the road and the sort of requirements that we had to meet, it's probably not a way to connect those 2 things.
Oh, sorry. I do like that idea, though. It was a good
Well,
idea.
we went over all that. I mean, when we were doing the property to the south, that was something that Allison talked about. Could this property, could Mimosa and the property to the south come together and do a shared driveway? So we're regularly looking at that with staff. It's just sometimes you get to here and you couldn't make things sort of work.
Okay. I think
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to make the way the request is worded, how to make a motion.
Yeah.
But I move that the appeal to the denial of an engineering design and construction waiver request related to curb cut spacing along an arterial roadway be approved or granted.
I second.
Sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. We have a lot of heads going up and down from the staff, so that sounds like that was a good motion. Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Got a second motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries. We have one, that's our last regular agenda item, but we do have one, we've kind of been counting on this during our postponements here, but we do have to vote to change the regular meeting for next month. Right now, it's currently scheduled on Veterans Day, which is a holiday. And so what are recommending, or that staff recommended to us, was move it forward to the 9th of November, which is the Tuesday before. And with that, we would also be having our, in the for what it's worth category, we'd be having our packet meeting just a day before, on the 8th, because that's still scheduled on the right day, so.
Move to approve the suggested revised date of the next regular meeting from November the 11th to November the 9th.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. I don't have any further communication. Anything from staff?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have several items just to mention briefly tonight, and we want to get out of here. So as you already pointed out, this is Stephanie's last day, so we appreciate all of her work for the
Thanks,
planning
Stephanie.
department and for you all. We also want just to recognize publicly Jay passing his AICP, that's the American Institute of Certified Planners certification. So
Way to go.
congratulations, Jay.
Way to go.
Congratulations.
That is not an easy feat.
It is a very tough exam,
Very good.
It's a big deal. So, and then you already mentioned Amber. Recently, we did promote Amber to a planner position, so congratulations, Amber.
You've been here so long, you should be able to tell them what to do.
And I'm hoping I don't miss anybody on that. Let's see, Jay, Stephanie, of course, going to GIS. And then I did have two other things that I wanted to mention tonight. We had some training opportunities recently for the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning Appeals. Adjustment, I keep getting that wrong. I know it's BZA now, though. Anyway, so we do have a certificate for Wendy for the course that you took, so thank you very much. Appreciate you taking the course. And then Mac recently went and he has taken the whole slew of courses that the University of North Alabama offers to become a CAPSO certification. So it's Certified Alabama Planning and Zoning Official. So congratulations on that.
Way to go, dude.
All those late night classes and study paid off.
Home courses and everything, right? So congratulations. And of course, if any of you want to participate in these types of training activities, the city will pay for it. We want to encourage you to do that. It's all good. So thank you very much to all of you.
I went through the CAPSO process too, and I highly recommend it. If you know, the thing about it is, you know, it's night classes once a week once you get enrolled in it, and sometimes you have to do it down in Montgomery. I don't know where you did your classes, but well worth it. They have some really excellent speakers, people that have experience that come do that. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's call us adjourned. Thank you.